I never called him Richard and he never called me Howell, but I must tell you that I once shared a stage with Richard Burton. This was in Port Talbot 50 years ago. I was on for 80 minutes and he was on for 2. The applause for my performance was louder and longer than for his. You don't believe me? Stay tuned. The bond between me and Richard is the village of Pontrhydyfen. More of that in a moment. I lived there from 1940 in an isolated house outside the village, in an area called Cwm Ifan Bach. Our neighbours lived in Cwm Farm, a quarter of a mile away. One of my early memories was playing with an inflated pig's bladder with my friend Gwyn Rhys, whose pig the bladder had once belonged to. I also remember how the pig was slaughtered, but the details are too gory to describe. Playing football with a pig's bladder doesn't last very long. You have to be quick. The bladder deteriorates to a sort of parchment before it gradually collapses. Even so, this was better than our usual game when we used a folded cap or a knotted scarf as a ball. But what about the Matthews-Burton Jenkins connection? My mother always referred to him as Mrs. Jenkins's boy. He lived a mile away in the village, in a house underneath a beautiful tall and narrow viaduct which crosses the river between Oakwood and the rest of Pontrhydyfen. His career developed his way and mine in mine. He went to America and married Elizabeth Taylor from Hollywood. More than once, I remember. I went to Swansea University and married Mary Lawler, once only, from my stag. Our paths crossed in 1957. If you think I'm making a meal of this story, please bear with me, because it is one of my few claims to fame. I was then playing at outside half for the university, and had left Pontrhydyfen many years previously. But I obviously had not been forgotten. When the village rugby team found itself short of a half-back for a cup match to be played on the Aberlawan ground, I received an SOS from club secretary Tom Owen. I'm glad that he called. I was not to know that I would meet Richard Burton, neither was I aware that a 10-shilling note would be slipped into my boot after the game, an illegal but not uncommon practice in those days. Richard Burton was taking a short holiday in Pontrhydyfen, and he was invited to kick off the match, dressed in his everyday clothes. How could we lose with 16 on our side? We didn't. He left the field to watch from the stand, but we had shared the same stage, him and me, for 2 minutes. All eyes were on him. Then it was my turn. The match ended in a draw, and I must say, in all modesty, that I had a good game. Unfortunately, we lost the replay some weeks later without him. But who cares? Matthews and Burton, or should it be Burton and Matthews, had been together, however fleetingly, sharing the stage for Pontrhydyfen. What a partnership!